Hello, and welcome to Old Toy, New Joy, the show where I share with you my previously enjoyed toys I purchased from online sources, thrift stores, and collector shows that once belonged to someone else. Today I thought it'd be fitting to talk to you about ways in which I sometimes display my vintage action figures, because just sticking them on a shelf doesn't always work. As well, I have a few more things to share with you that I have purchased since videos were made of those themes, so sort of like an update. So let's get started. So first I wanted to talk about this little display case. This is a window frame box, whatever you call these. I think originally it was from IKEA, but I picked it up from a secondhand store for a couple dollars. And it allows enough room inside to put action figures because it's got about 1.5 inch clearance. And I've used things like this in the past and shown you in videos for my Redline Hot Wheels. I put Redline Hot Wheels in there. You stick a couple of shelves, they're in there, they're safe, they don't get all dusty. And when it comes to action figures like this, 1979 Mego 3 3/4 Buck Rogers figures, most of them are flimsy and floppy. I did feature these in a video not too long ago, and they wouldn't even stand. I actually have replaced a couple of the O-rings since then just to tighten them up a bit. During that video, I had Tiger Man, Buck, Twiki, beady beady beep, the Draconian Guard, Draco, and Killer Kane. I also did not have a cape or cloak or whatever you want to call it for Draco, so I made this out of a piece of plastic. Sort of followed the design of the Star Wars vinyl capes and cut out one of those to put him in it, because that's what a lot of people do, but originally his cape was cloth. And I decided I wanted to complete the set, so I picked up Dr. Hewer on eBay, and I picked up Princess Ardala, or Ardella. I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways. And then I got this beautiful example of Wilma Deering on eBay. It did cost me. She was the most expensive of them all. She is the most sought after figure, especially in great condition, and she is in great condition, and we'll take a look at that when I get her out of the bag here. But I want to talk about this display. And you may remember, if you've seen the video I did on my Buck Rogers figures, I had sort of a cool shiny paper in the background, and I've used that paper in the display. And I did that because it reminded me of a disco ball. And if you've seen the old Buck Rogers television show from the 70s, you'll note that there was a bit of a disco theme in there. And in real life, disco was well on its way out by 1978-79. But they were still kind of holding on to it for the show. I think the producers thought maybe disco would be used in the future. I don't know. And I mean, they called it kind of rock. There's a couple episodes that did feature weird rock, disco-like music in the show, and they kept some of the disco features. You can't really tell if there's no light on it, but when you put light on the display, you can see it's quite reflective and shiny, and it does sort of look like a disco ball. So that's why I did that. So when the light hits it right, it all makes sense. But let's take a look at the Wilma figure. So she stands, which is crazy. I haven't had a Buck Rogers figure stand for me since I was about 5 years old, and I got my handful of Buck Rogers figures for Christmas. And I don't really remember what it was like to take them out of the package, but it must have been something like this. She is minty. She's white as white, because usually that uniform goes yellow over time. And you start to see some discolorization around the joints. Her joints are tight. She's standing on her own, which is crazy for these figures because they get so flimsy and flopsy so quickly. She's got her original sidearm there, which often falls off. The screws, I don't know if you can tell, but they're not brown and rusty. They're nice and silver. She's got all of her hair paint. Very nice figure. She's got her little rainbow decal. So she was worth the money. I did get the seller to knock $5 off. But she's great, and I just thought it fitting to get the best figure in of the last one that I needed in the best condition. And you'll see that I have a wire there for her. And I'm just going to slide her right in beside Princess Ardala, and the set is complete. Unfortunately, they never came out with the Hawkman. Hawkman was in the second and last season of the show. He was a great figure. Every once in a while you see somebody who's done a custom of him, and it either doesn't look good or it looks too modern. I would want to make a custom that would look like how Mego would have done the figure. And again, not too much detail. They didn't have the head sculpt technology down. I may try to come up with something one day, but for the meantime, here's the 9 figures, and I think they look great. And again, they're safe in there. They're not going to get dusty. All these ones that wouldn't stand on their own, if I walked by the shelf, they would have like fallen off the shelf. So it's a nice, neat little display for them. And here we have a 1983 Galoob 5-inch A-Team B.A. Baracus, played by Mr. T. And I had mostly 3 3/4 A-Team stuff when I was a kid, but I did have the larger Hannibal Smith. I never had this, and I think this was probably kind of sold out. He was the most popular character for kids. I don't think it was meant that way. I think it was supposed to be George Papard's show, but Mr. T stole the spotlight. This is a very cool figure. I got this just last week in a thrift store. I saw it hanging on its own with the Barbies, and it was like $2.99. I'm like, oh man, I knew exactly what it was right away. I had to have it. The A-Team was an awesome show. Anybody my age fondly remembers it. Very popular show, and very cool figure. They made Galoob, that is, made 3 3/4 figures. These 5-inch. I'm not exactly sure how tall this figure is. I think he's 5 inches. I haven't measured him. They also made 12-inch figures. I haven't seen any of those. And even the 3 3/4 ones are rare. I mean, they're all kind of rare because everything is collectible from that show. But we'll get a closer look. They've got his famous jewelry, which apparently he hasn't worn in real life for a long time. He's not into that anymore. Material possessions and the such. He's got his cool denim vest. He's in good shape. He's got his white socks there. Kind of an interesting outfit. Sort of an 80s punk outfit. There's his mohawk hairstyle. Good paint on that. So he's in good shape. He was a great purchase. And speaking of Galoob, the employees of Galoob left that company, and in the early 1990s, they started Original San Francisco Toymaker. And they were known for making lots of stuff, but probably most notably, wrestling figures. Because by that time, the LJN line was done, and Hasbro was making figures, and I think Remco was doing some stuff, so they wanted to throw their hat in the ring and make wrestling figures. And this is a 1998 WCW Monday Nitro Lex Luger. And I got this at a a thrift store. Yeah, I got this at a thrift store just about 3 weeks ago. I didn't exactly know what it was. I figured it was Lex Luger, and it had an LJN look to it, but I knew it was an LJN. And so I got it home, did some research, and realized it's actually a highly collectible figure. That's a first wave figure, and he draws a pretty penny on eBay if you want to get him. He's a little dinged up here. I think there's paint scratches here, but otherwise he's in good shape. And so I've got him displayed in my LJN wrestling ring, which I featured in an episode, of course, with my LJN figures, because even though he's a tiny bit smaller, he's got an LJN, look to him. He's not posable. He's not quite as rubbery, a little harder than them, but he's a nice looking figure. And he's in good shape. Has boot paint. But as you can see, there's a couple scratches. And he's got his, he had a ponytail back then, so. That's how I was trying to figure out, who is this? I think it's Lex Luger. Did he have a ponytail? Yeah, he did at one point. And here we have a 1985 LJN Thundercats Panthro. And I did an episode a little while back on my Thundercats figures. I don't have many, and I was just getting into it. I found them very interesting. And you see them on eBay. I do see them at collector's shows. Never seen them at a thrift store yet. And this one I purchased at a collector's show, my second last collector's show that I went to. And I go with a budget, $40, $60. I'm not kidding you. I don't bring a lot of money. It's cash only. And I make my rounds and I see what I like. Sometimes I walk away empty-handed. I don't always make purchases at these shows. I don't just buy for the sake of spending my money. But I went to a show, spent, I don't remember what it was, if it was 35 or 55 of the $60, I guess, that I brought on cards and some figures, maybe a couple Hot Wheels. And then I came across a booth that had 2 LJN figures in a shoebox, $5 each. And it was clear that I wasn't going to get both for $5. I was talking to the guy. So I had to make a decision. And it was either Panthro or the Tuska Warrior, the walrus face. And I chose Panthro. And the next time I went to the show, I saw that guy's booth, and the Tuska Warrior was gone. Of course it was. LJN Thundercat figure for $5. But I have no regrets. That's life. It's a book of choices. First world problems. But you need to make choices sometimes, and you got to live with them. And either way, it was a good deal, and I picked Panthro. He does not stand well on his own, this Panthro. He's leaning right now on something. But I do lean him up when I display him with the other Thundercats. But you'll see here, he's kind of flimsy. So if I try to stand him on his own, he either goes backwards or collapses forward. So cool looking figure though. I like him, and I had wanted him for a while, so I'm happy. And here is a 1985 Kenner Superpowers Steppenwolf, 4.5-inch figure. He's missing his axe, but this rope attached to this axe that he would swing. And I did an episode on Superpowers. I've done a couple episodes on my Superpowers figures. He was a mailway, or a fan club offer, second series fan club offer. Not unlike the mailway Clark Kent that I showed you, that I'm realizing now is, like the Lex Luger, quite collectible and demands a pretty penny on the secondary market. This one, not so much. But I got him at a thrift store in a bag with a couple other things for just a couple dollars. So I'm happy with him. He's in good condition. I didn't know much about this figure. I don't really remember him from the cartoon or anything. Again, when displaying these guys, you got to be careful. Because, I have shelves full of figures and things. Every once in a while, I'll bump into a shelf and 10 figures will fall. Hopefully they fall forward, not backward, behind the shelf and in between the wall and the shelf. Then I got to decide if I want to dig everything out or just leave them back there for the time being. And here's another Kenner figure. This is a 1987 Ghostbusters Fright Features Egon Spengler. And Jellybean and I did an episode a while back that's been very popular with viewers on the Ecto-1. And at that time, I just had one figure, and then I got another one, and now I have 3 figures. I don't see these very often at thrift stores or even collector shows. If I want to kind of purchase Ghostbusters things, I think I need to go online, go on eBay, but I'm not quite there yet. But this is a cool figure. Again, thrift store find for a couple bucks. When you move his arm, little tie comes out and his neck goes up and his jaw drops. Like a ghost. I've seen examples on eBay of this figure with this sort of mold embedded in the leg. It kind of depends on the PVC plastic I think they used in some figures. Sometimes you get that. And I don't think there's any way to get that out. You would just have to kind of paint over it. I don't think it's dangerous or spreadable to other toys. Probably worth looking into, right? But there you go, another Kenner figure. So we've done Galoob, Kenner, LJN, Mego, OSFTM. What do we got next here? Takara. Yeah, here is a Takara 1986 Transformers Battle Chargers Run Amok. And there were two Battle Chargers, 1986, Runabout and Runamuck. And they had motorized pullback pop-up action. And they were Decepticons. And they were not unlike the Autobot Jump Starters, which I think had come out the previous year, 2 years previous. I have both of those. Top Spin and Twin Kick or Spin Kick or something like that. I can't remember. I've got them. But these were kind of cooler. Like you wind them up, they go, and then they transform for you. So let me see if I can get this one to do that. Okay, so the table wasn't quite long enough for him to do his thing, but he did, right before he hit the ground, transform. And so there he is. Doesn't really have arms or legs, but he does have his doors come out and his hood go back behind his head, and or the trunk, sorry, the hood comes out as his feet. He's a little sticky. He's got all his labels, which is rare to find these with the cowl still intact, but they're a little sticky. Somebody had tape on him and stuff. He's kind of tricky to put back together again. Somebody was frustrated, I guess, and just taped them all up, but he does holds nice as a car. It's not like he all pops open and stuff. So again, thrift store find in a bag with some other junk for a couple bucks. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was something. I could tell it was 80s. I wasn't exactly sure which Transformer it was, but he's got the, the rub. There, you can see it. So he's legit. Run amok. And if you've watched Old Toy, New Joy before, you'll know that I do like Star Trek, and occasionally I'll mention Khan. Khan is my favorite character from the Star Trek franchise. Wrath of Khan, Star Trek II is my favorite movie, and I do like to watch reruns of the original 1960 show, and Space Seed is one of my favorite episodes, which first featured Ricardo Montalban's Khan character. On the left from 2007, we have a Diamond Select, Wrath of Khan, and he's got his very imposing outfit when he was out there hunting down Genesis and Captain Kirk. There are other versions of him out there, some where he's been severely burnt and injured near the end of the movie, right before Spock dies. I'm sorry, spoiler alert. And on the right, we have a nice, young, clean-cut Diamond Select 2007 version of Khan, shortly after he was rescued by the Enterprise, and he's got his dinner jacket on, and he's seducing one of the crew members. And I love the attention to detail. I think he looks so cool. Very cool. They're both very cool. I don't know which one I like better. Very scary. I saw this when I was 7. I've mentioned that on the show before, and I was freaked out of my gourd. I thought he was right up there with Jaws and Darth Vader as a villain. And then there's the younger one right there. Both look like Ricardo Montalban, for sure. So not quite vintage yet, but very cool. And here we have a 1979 Hot Wheels Scene Machines Incredible Hulk. And I had this when I was a kid, and I always wanted to get it again, and I was always surprised at how expensive and desirable and collectible it was on eBay and other purchasing mechanisms. Probably the paint gets worn off, the back falls off. I don't know what it is, but I found this at a collector's show. There's a guy who has a lot of Hot Wheels, not red lines, mostly 70s and 80s in amazing condition. He's always there at the show. I talked to him. I did purchase a few things from him in the past. Actually, I did purchase a couple red lines from him way back. And he recognizes me, and we talk, and he knew I wanted it. His price was $60 originally. And that's about the going rate on eBay for one in this condition. But he cut that in half for me because, again, I had spent most of my money by the time I got to his table. So, really nice of him. I love it. I love it. I love this thing. And when you look in the back, I don't know if we're going to be able to tell, but there's a scene of him in there destroying everything inside the van. Oh, there you go. You can see it. And I think there was a Captain America one and a Spider-Man one, but this is the one I had as a kid. I love this. And also, it matches some of my other Hulk stuff. So I have an episode where I feature my Dika cup and bowl and TV tray, which I'm not going to haul out, my metal TV tray. But as you can see, the artwork is extremely similar. And finally, it's difficult for me not to talk about sports cards on Old Toy New Joy, so I have a couple here. On the left is a gorgeous 1948 Leaf football card of Levi Jackson, who was a college player, never played professionally, but had he accepted the contract offered to him by the Giants, I believe, he would have been the first player to integrate professional football since the 1930s, not Kenny Washington. This card was affordable. It's in gorgeous condition. I bought it off on eBay. The Kenny Washington card is extremely expensive because he is considered, of course, the first player to integrate. And there's no way I could afford that, but I love this card. I think it's great. And the one on the right is my favorite of all the Bo Jacksons that were out there in around 1985-86. It's one of his rookies. It's a 1986 Topps. I've always loved the look of this card. And I remember even wanting it as a kid. And so I did buy it on eBay. It was about $10. It's in good shape. Take a look at the back. I'll show you the back of both the cards. So he doesn't even have any stats yet. I've always liked the 86. I don't like all the years of Topps baseball in the 80s, but I do like this one. If you're going to have a Bo Jackson, I think this is the Bo Jackson you should have. Well, maybe there's that other one where he's got the baseball bat and the football shoulder pads on. That's pretty cool, too. And there's the back of this one. I love it because it's from the 40s, but it's also very colorful. Most of the cards were kind of drab back then. So, thank you for tuning in today to Old Toy New Joy and allowing me to share my now complete set of Mego 3 3/4 vintage Buck Rogers action figures in their nice new little display case, as well as the other items that I picked up over the last couple of months. If you liked the video, please like the video, and we will keep them coming. In the meantime, I encourage you to visit other episodes of Old Toy New Joy. You might see something you like. You might see something that you used to have. You might see something that you'd like to start to collect, such as Thundercats, He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Hot Wheels, wrestling figures, comics, records, marbles, Pogs, superpowers, and much, much more. Until next time, this is your Toy Whisperer saying farewell from Old Toy New Joy.